All right, let's talk about two fields that, at first glance, seem to have absolutely nothing in common: hypnotherapy and philosophy. One is all about clinical practice and personal change. The other is, well, it's the academic study of big ideas. But what if I told you they're way more connected than we think?
I mean, on the surface, they really do feel like they're from different planets, right? You've got hypnotherapy over here, which is super practical. It's a clinical tool you use to work on specific issues. And then you have philosophy, which is all about the big, abstract, conceptual questions about life, the universe, and everything.
Yeah, one of our sources put it perfectly. Trying to link these two can feel like you're trying to find what a fish and a bicycle have in common. I mean, they just seem built for completely different purposes, different worlds.
So that's the big question we're diving into. Where on earth do they connect? And the answer, it turns out, reveals something pretty fascinating, not just about therapy, but about what it means to be a flourishing human being.
Okay, so the first connection point isn't really about the answers they provide. It's actually about the huge, profound questions that the very act of doing hypnotherapy forces us to confront.
And here it is, the big one. The second you start talking about hypnosis, you slam right into one of the oldest, deepest questions in all of philosophy.
Just think about it for a second. We always hear hypnosis described as an altered state of consciousness. Now, that's not just some clinical phrase. It's a direct challenge to how we understand our own minds. It makes you wonder, how is my self even put together? Is my subconscious mind like a totally separate thing with its own agenda? These are the exact questions that philosophers of mind have been wrestling with for centuries.
And this just opens up a whole other can of worms. When you're in a hypnotic state, your suggestibility is way higher. And that brings up another classic philosophical headache, the problem of free will.
So here's the puzzle. Are you making a free choice in that state, or are you just responding to a cause, the therapist's suggestion? Someone who believes in determinism might just say, well, free will is an illusion anyway. Hypnosis just puts this huge, abstract debate into a very real, very practical situation. And of course, that leads us straight into ethics. Hypnotherapists have to navigate this philosophical minefield every single day. How do you balance a client's own power to choose with the goals of the therapy? How can you be sure someone gives truly informed consent when they're about to enter a highly suggestible state? And what about the whole placebo effect thing? If a suggestion works and makes someone feel better, does it matter if it wasn't real? These are massive questions about influence and agency.
But okay, the connection goes so much deeper than just asking the same questions. This is where it gets really surprising. It turns out, philosophy isn't just raising the problems. It's been providing the solutions all along. And there it is. That's the big reveal. So many of the therapeutic tools and frameworks that are used today, when you really boil them down, are just practical applications of different schools of philosophy. It's philosophy in action.
You can literally draw a straight line from these ancient ideas right into a modern therapy office. The Stoics, they taught that you can't control what happens to you, only how you react. That is the absolute core of modern cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. The pragmatists argued that truth is basically whatever works. That's the entire foundation of solution-focused brief therapy. And existentialism's whole quest to find meaning in a chaotic world, well, that's existential therapy.
And this quote just nails it. This is from the Stoic philosopher Epictetus from like 2,000 years ago. I mean, that could be the mission statement for a CBT clinic today, right? The idea is exactly the same. Change your thoughts, and you change your entire experience.
And the connections just keep on coming. The Socratic method, challenging your own assumptions by asking questions, that's a technique used directly in therapy today. Aristotle's idea that we should build up our virtues to live a flourishing life, that's the bedrock of positive psychology. And even postmodernism, with its idea that our reality is just a personal story we tell ourselves, well, that gave us narrative therapy, which is all about helping people rewrite those stories.
So what's really cool is seeing how this works in practice. A therapist isn't going to give you a lecture on Socrates. No, they just use his method. By asking for the evidence for and against a belief, they help the client challenge their own assumptions. It's an ancient philosophical tool being used for modern mental health. It's brilliant. So if one field is asking all the big questions and the other is basically using the answers, what's the shared destination? What are they both ultimately trying to achieve?
Well, the answer can be found in a single, really powerful Greek word, eudaimonia. Now, it often gets translated as just happiness, but it's so much deeper than that. It's about human flourishing, living a rich, full, meaningful life, and really becoming the best version of yourself.
And that, right there, is the common ground. It doesn't matter if you're in a therapist's office working on a specific problem or reading Aristotle to understand the good life. The underlying goal is exactly the same: to move from a state of distress towards that state of flourishing, of eudaimonia.
So we come all the way back to our fish and our bicycle. And it turns out maybe they weren't so different after all. They're just two different vehicles. One is practical and clinical, the other is conceptual and abstract, but they're both designed to carry us on the exact same human journey toward a better life.
Which leaves us with one final, and I think maybe the most important, thought to chew on. If modern therapy really is just applied philosophy,
Then what's the philosophy that you are living by every single day, whether you realize it or not?